Today is finally the day. We have built up all the outside of the base, we've planned out what we're going to be doing in this area right here, in the octagons and things, but this central part of the base has been sort of neglected recently, and I haven't really spoken too much about it, and to be frankly honest, it's because I've been stressing a lot. I had no idea what I was going to do with it, okay? I built up the outside of the base without really having a proper plan in base for what this magical, massive tower in the center was actually going to be. So over the past few days, I've been buried in a creative mode testing world, and I've come up with something that I think looks really, really cool, and now I'm going to try my best to build it up on the Hermitcraft server. And it needs so many resources. It needs just so much. So we're going to have to get to work on that one. Now, I'm just looking up at this. Is there any way that I can get a cobblestone generator in here so that I don't have to build another blast chamber type thing? It'd be great if I could funnel it in. I mean, I guess I probably could push it in from that side. I don't... it might get blown up. Having looked at it, I think we can put in all of the pistons and the cobblestone generator in this space right here. We can flip all of this stuff onto the other side because it doesn't necessarily need to be here. Then we can have a concrete generator and also a cobblestone generator, all making use of that piece of TNT. I think we can all agree that that's pretty fancy. I've just been stood here staring at Iskall for quite some time. I don't think he's realised I'm here yet. I wonder how long I could stay here without him noticing me. It turns out not that much longer. I am so glad that this is a temporary setup because this is a bit of a nightmare in terms of the way it looks. You can tell I was just running out of blocks and placing things randomly. But anyway, this is now in place. It's all functioning. So now all of this space is free to use. And I'm going to be honest, things haven't gotten better looking since. Look at this. This is arguably even worse. But I'm hoping it should all work. This seems like it's functioning, doesn't it? Nice. Okay, well that was actually pretty plain sailing. I swear, I'm not trying to make this uglier and uglier every single stage, but it seems to be happening. Anyway, I've made an extension to our water streams. The TNT machine is now running, and all the cobblestone is running into the chest. And even though it's not a particularly fast system in the grand scheme of things, it's still producing a decent amount. I mean, it's doing pretty well. Now, this build definitely isn't going to be 100% cobblestone, so we're going to have to convert some of this cobblestone into smooth stone so that we can use it in the build and also make stone bricks and things that we can also use in the build, which is where my super smelter is going to be coming in handy. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could connect these two things up? Like if I had like a water stream that just sent the items through. That would be good. And then a tree farm that also went into a blast chamber that then fueled the furnace. Like a tree farm that went into a super smelter that converted the trees into charcoal. That charcoal then powered the furnaces, which converts the trees, but then the excess charcoal then makes its way into another super smelter and smelts up my stone. We are 100% doing that in the industrial district, 100%. Sometimes you need to emphasize the 100%edness by saying it twice in a very short period of time. Anyway, I've spent a bunch of time collecting up a whole ton of stone, so I smelted all of this. I also have around about 3, maybe 4 double chests of cobblestone over there. That should be enough to get us started, I hope. Not quite, because we also need this. Right, I have part 1 of the template all kind of lined up. Now, this build is going to be based sort of on an octagon, and I'll explain my thought process on all of this a little bit later, but I just want to actually start getting some things in place. So now I have to indent, do some diagonals and things, then we can start going upwards. Nice, nice, nice. That's looking good. All right, okay, next up. Whoop. Clearly I've given up on words today. That's how I'm saying we're going upwards. Right, I'm just going to say it. Okay, things are going to get better from here. This is not going to stay as flat. I am going to do some extra ruining. We're going to add some texture in. I just want to get the outside of the thing all constructed. This is kind of tier 1. There's lots of tiers involved in this thing, and also a lot of things that happen on the outside. I'm building up this area, but I will be the first to admit it looks very flat and uninteresting at this point in time, but this is the style that we're going for, okay? And it looks cool. For what it is, it looks cool. It also looks big, considering we're going a lot higher than this. This is like the first stage. I have just realised, though, that I've built this template wrong, thankfully only on the diagonals. At least I've only realised that I've done it wrong on the diagonals. If this is wrong, I'll be upset, very upset. Now I've realised I've built the template wrong again. It's still wrong, and I've done it wrong again. Yes! My fingers are so crossed, right, that they're basically breaking. I think I've done it finally correct. I think I've corrected everything, so now we can start leveling everything up to this height here. If it's not, I launch myself out of the window that's right next to me, and it's a small window I'd barely fit, so that even that process is painful, and then falling would hurt too. Right, after those multiple mishaps, I've now gotten to work on actually building up this entire thing, and it's starting to feel pretty cool. That archway's done. I need to do all of the smooth stone going up there, but it is... Oh, it's already just standing in the center here. I actually have a lot more space to play with than I was expecting. By the way, if you hear squeaks in the background, I recently got Kubo a very squeaky toy, and it's his favorite thing. And he just goes to town on it all day long. It's... I regret many things. So, with the full outside framework kind of all in place, now it is time to start adding in the details and things. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to do these little sections which are going to connect up into these smooth stone elements. Then I'm going to do the bits that connect up all the smooth stone elements and kind of do all of that sort of stuff, which isn't really too challenging. I'm just making my way up like this. Now don't worry, once again, I am going to be adding texture to all of this. There's going to be breakages, there's going to be blocks put on the flat surfaces. They're not just going to be staying completely flat. I can feel the builders in the comment section just starting to freak out, thinking it's going to be left like this. It's beginning to look like a solid build. I think I might be going mad. I was incredibly close to breaking into song just then, and I'm very, very glad that I didn't. Very, very glad. Ladies and gentlemen, I might actually make some diamonds here. Green needs white concrete. I have tons upon tons of white concrete. Everywhere else is sold out. Supply and demand. Boom. There he is. No, I need to tell him where to go. Oh, what? No, I was about to say how good it is to have Green around, taking my stuff, making diamonds, and then he just insults me. But you know what? I've just checked. He gave me 36 diamonds for that concrete. He can say what he likes to me. He could set me on fire for all I care. I mean, that's good. That's cold hard cash. This thing is now a solid object. It has no gaps. It has no space. Well, apart from the massive archways, but obviously they're meant to be gaps. Okay, so they're meant to be there. This is now all fully filled in. Now it's time to actually make this thing look slightly less flat and slightly more ruined, so I'm going to add some texture to it now, and I think that's going to make a big improvement. And don't worry, that is just phase 1 of the ruining process. There's going to be leaves, there's going to be trees growing out of it. It's going to look completely wild. Kubo has been eating that toy for about 3 hours now, and he's still going. Can you hear it? It's impossible. Surely he's getting bored. Surely he must be getting bored by now. How fun can it be to squeak a toy like that? Look at that. That is... One side is obviously ruined. The other side is flat. Look how much cooler that looks. That looks so cool. I can't wait to get the leaves and the things growing out of it. Oh, it's going to look awesome. The only thing is, I think these corners could do with being a tiny bit more rounded. But I don't want to make any serious changes to this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up for tonight. I'm going to come back tomorrow with a fresh head. And then I'll continue building this thing. Because I've been playing for 12 hours already. And I'm pooped. A fresh head has been acquired. And I've spent a couple hours this morning just working on destroying this thing a little bit further. Adding in all the foliage and things. And my goodness, is it an upgrade. It looks so cool, and I've put a lot of time into really making sure that A, it's all spawn proof, so there's no spots that a mob can actually spawn in this thing because they've all been protected with buttons and pressure plates and things like that. But also just adding in little details and little bits of texture, kind of taking inspiration from my neighbours, and yeah, really trying to make this thing an interesting piece to look at. And when you compare it to these ones, you can see why I kept saying that these aren't going to be the final end products. Can you imagine if I stuck with these? Oh, what a nightmare. Now, I do have a bit of a confession to make. As you know, I've been a little bit of a public kind of disapprover of the scaffolding block. I've said that maybe it's not the most useful thing in the world. I've never really used it, particularly on the Hermitcraft server, because I find them a little bit frustrating. But for stuff like this, where I'm having to go up and down, placing various different things and kind of scale the build quite a lot, they're really quite good. They're really quite good. I'm so embarrassed to admit it. This is like the Riptide Trident all over again. Anyway, I've got a lot more ruination to do, so let's crack on with some of that. And you know what? time-lapse time. And I'm very glad that I did that because I feel like that is far more entertaining than the various progress updates and slightly repetitive cuts that I would have done in the process of building that thing. Sometimes certain projects just suit time-lapses and others don't, and often you don't know which one suits what until actually you finish doing it. And normally, at least in my experience, I've chosen incorrectly. But today's not one of those days. It got easier. I mean, the first one that I did, outside of it being a time-lapse as I woke up this morning, took around about probably 2 or 3 hours just to do. I guess the fact that it was so early in the morning and my brain was foggy could have had something to do with that, and the fact that I was trying to learn how on earth scaffolding works, because I'd never really used it before, so I was kind of placing it all over the place. Outside of those two things, it took a long time, because obviously you have to find your rhythm, find your style. Once you actually start getting into the swing of things, things begin to speed up, and in the end it only took about an hour for each one, which... Not bad. I genuinely didn't know how much I was going to get done in today's Hermitcraft episode. I really wasn't expecting to get the entire kind of bottom segment fully finished like we've done here. So that is absolutely huge. That is so good. It feels so good when you make more progress than you're actually expecting to. And I gotta say, it just feels good working on the base. Because I was panicking so much. Normally I have a good plan for what I'm going to do with my base. The only plan that I had was the outside elements. I hadn't actually planned the inside, so I'm just so happy that I actually now have a strategy and something that I want to do, and we're starting to place blocks on the Hermitcraft server, because I've been freaking out over the past couple of weeks. Anyway, let's take a look at it actually on the Hermitcraft server now. And I mean, I guess it goes without saying that each side is pretty similar to the first one that we did, but it is nice to see them all looking cool. And this is actually my first time seeing this thing as a solid object. You see, in my testing world, I've kind of only built one segment, like I guess 1/8 of this thing, not even a quarter, just to get a feel for the shape. So actually seeing it as a solid thing that stands on its own, super cool. Super cool. But we aren't going to stop there. You see, these side bits, these things that you see behind me that are currently looking very clean and very lovely, they will get destroyed at some point. But the reason they look so clean and lovely is actually because there is some destruction that happens in this area. You see, this tower is actually made up of various different segments, and I think I kind of want to build up one of the segments now. Oh no! Oh, I've just remembered something. Just as I was gathering up my resources to actually start work on that next segment, I've remembered I need to build something gorgeous with diorite, and what do I do? I mean, I'm definitely not going to integrate it into my actual base, because then it has to stay forever, and I will forever know that is the cause of it. Is there anything? What can I do? I really don't know. I need to do something. Because Hermit challenges, I can't fail my own challenge. I mean, it technically wasn't my challenge, but still. I've just flown over to Iskall's tree, and it looks like he's removed the bird that was pooping diorite down onto the floor, which does mean that that's now open. And I wonder, if he's removed that recently, it could be very funny to replace it with a totally different bird that's also pooping diorite. Like, every single time he removes the bird that's pooping diorite onto his tree, another one appears that's pooping more diorite. Oh my goodness, he removed it in the previous episode. This is perfect. So, I think it's high time that we bring back the chariot. For those of you who aren't familiar with Hermit Challenge's history, I'd suggest looking back and seeing what that thing actually is. But we are going to be constructing a chariot on the edge of Iskall's tree. So I'm building him up a little perch right here. And I gotta say, like, just looking at this, it's gonna look quite cute. just popping out the side there. I've just run out of concrete, but I thought I'd take a quick rain check on this thing. I actually think this is going to upgrade his base. I genuinely think this is actually an improvement. You know, it's been an incredibly long time since I've built a Minecraft chicken, so there is a high chance that this is horribly proportioned and all over the place. But I think this could be it. Yep, yeah, there it is. There is the traditional Minecraft shape. Okay, that is absolutely perfect, but we haven't actually used any diorite just yet, so obviously we need to make a gorgeous mess on this here log. Yeah, around about here, just kind of spilling down the side. I actually went a little bit too far. I kind of covered quite a large area. I found all the diorite in my base and then just covered a massive area of Iskall's tree in bird poo. And maybe not that. We need to reduce the size of it a tiny bit. What do we reckon? That looks about right, doesn't it? I'd say that is like a realistic amount of poo and a realistic spillage down the side of the tree. Now, is it gorgeous? I mean, I think as a build in its entirety, I think it is. Maybe the diorite usage maybe isn't the most gorgeous thing, and I still think it needs a little bit of refinement down this side here, but the actual build itself is gorgeous. And the diorite is part of it. So I would say I've completed the challenge. I think this is the finishing touch that we really needed. Okay, cool. Let's move back over to the base now. And I realised I said that I was going to explain why the centre of my base is old and the outside is futuristic earlier on in the episode, and then I never actually did it. So the reason that the centre of my base is old and the outside is futuristic is essentially it's an idea that I've had in my head since kind of the start of the season. I love the idea of this being like an ancient temple, okay? Like an ancient monument that is being preserved by a generation thousands upon thousands of years later. A bit like, you know, how when we have monuments and things like Stonehenge, it's surrounded by modern stuff. Well, I'm thinking extrapolate that like 2,000 years into the future. This is the sort of thing that we'd have. So this is like an ancient temple from thousands of years ago that a futuristic people, a futuristic generation from thousands of years in the future is protecting. That's the mindset behind my base. Now, you may notice that this structure right here doesn't really relate too much to the structures that are on the outside, and that's where these little towers that I'm going to be constructing here are going to come in, because those are then going to relate to the structure of these. These are going to be you're going to see some parallels between these structures and the diagonals and the proportions and things with what actually gets constructed in this build. So these parts are incredibly important. By that description, you would think that I was building up some crazy work of art for an art gallery and not building a Minecraft build. On a Minecraft server where we mess around with our friends, and I literally just built a chicken that is pooing down a tree. Okay, it's crazy how fast you can flip-flop between sounding professional and doing stuff like that. Right, so here is the inside of the pillar. Once again, all of this is going to be dirtied up. You know the drill, you know how this whole thing works. But this is the inside of the pillar. Now I'm going to do the outside, and to give you a rough idea of what's going to happen is, you see this diagonal here? It's going to match up to that diagonal and then go up, and then it's going to go up again, and then the tip of the tower is actually going to match up to that diagonal in the center. So that is going to be the height of this build. It's going to be in proportion with that diagonal there. Basically, it's going to be really big. It's going to be huge. It's also definitely not going to be floating off the ground. I am going to terraform this mound up to the base of it, and I'm going to do that properly, and it's going to look really, really cool. But that in of itself is a bit of a mega project, to be honest with you. And actually, as I'm building up these towers here, I'm starting to realize that these are a mega project in of themselves, to be honest with you. I've just started ruining the outsides here, and if you can't quite tell, these are like a reflection of the bases of these. Or I guess because this is meant to have been built first, these would be a reflection of what has been constructed here. It'll become more obvious when we start getting diagonals involved, but this is kind of like the base of it. I just want to give you my daily announcement that mending is the greatest enchantment and thing that was ever introduced into Minecraft, maybe after the Elite. That's actually, what is the single best introduction to Minecraft? Like, what would you say is the single best introduction to Minecraft? Pistons, maybe one of them, hoppers, the elytra, the mending enchantment, running. Like, there's certain things that have been added into the game that completely changed it. Which one's the best? I'm gonna be thinking about that all night now. That's not gonna leave my head. Okay, I think I've finally reached the stage now where I'm happy with this tower being completed. So I've made some changes to it. So I've ruined the outskirts. We've got fence posts connecting the outside pillars to the actual central section, and all in all, I think it looks pretty cool. And imagine 4 of those around, then once again going up and over the top, and then obviously this central section also increasing in size as well in a similar fashion. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling so good that we've managed to start constructing things actually on the server. We've got the ball rolling now. It's good news. The base is going to be mega. I mean, this is stage 2. We still have stage 3 underneath the ground as well, which is where the majority of the base is actually going to be going. I mean, this is an almighty base. This is an almighty base and an almighty undertaking. But unfortunately, that is actually all I've got time for today. I've had a lot of fun in this episode, really proud, and I look forward to doing more episodes like this where we make some mega base progress. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. See ya. And I just want to say a big thank you for the love on the Instagram. Thanks to the previous episode shout out. I mean, I don't really have anything else to shout out. Maybe my Twitter. You can follow my Twitter if you want to hear me ramble on about pointless stuff, or not necessarily ramble, I guess do short rambles, really short rambles, and then obviously my Instagram is a good place to go. Just follow me everywhere that I am. What are you doing? Are you a proper fan? Probably not.